My name is Shrikant Mulik, and I'm going to talk about forms of business organizations in this video. Let us first understand the types of organizations. So we can have broadly three categories here. First is the government organizations. So we would obviously have Indian government, Bangladesh government, American government, German government, and so on. Within the Indian government, you also have state government and central governments, and then you have local bodies. And all. So these are all government organizations. We're not going to discuss those in this video. The second type is non-government organizations. So government organizations, when we talk about government, we typically look at government as a welfare organization. It's a organization which is responsible for doing good for the people. NGOs do the same, but they are not government organizations. So they don't collect taxes. So government collect taxes and then provide services or welfare services to the citizens. NGOs will raise funds through donations and do the same. So they are both actually do welfare, but the source of revenue is different. What we are interested in is enterprises. Right? But then in India, there are two types of enterprises. Actually, the prominent in India is the public sector enterprises and private sector enterprises. Is the public sector enterprises, these are the difference between them is actually type of ownership. So public sector enterprises are fully or partly or largely owned by government, whereas private sector enterprises are fully owned by private individuals and maybe the private enterprises themselves. Uh, so public sector enterprises are the ones since they are owned by government, though enterprises by definition should be producing profit. The way the public sector enterprises are managed will be really different. And again, we're not going to discuss so much of it. What we're going to focus is on private sector enterprise. So, what are the forms of private sector enterprises? That is what the focus of this video. So, there are five forms, and these are listed on this slide here. The first is proprietorship firms, then partnership firms, limited liability partnership, also called LLP. Then there are private limited companies and there are public limited companies. Let us look at each one of them a little more carefully. Proprietorship firm is the one which is started by a person and he or she may employ multiple people, but ownership is with the person. And the firm is actually the same, actually not a different entity altogether, but it's the same entity as the individual. It's easy to form, anybody can simply start it. What you may need is perhaps some kind of a shop and establishment act certificate or something like that, or you may not even need that. You may need it only to open a bank account, but otherwise it's easy to start. You can simply start with it and you decide how do you want to do it. It's a flexible operation. How do you want to run? It's entirely different from you as a proprietor, right? The challenge is there's a limited amount of capital, right? I mean, how much you can reach. Unless you're too much reach, you have a limited amount of capital, and that's where the one shortcoming of proprietorship firm. And second is unlimited liability. So whatever firm makes losses, firms borrows money but can't repay. It's a proprietor who will be held responsible. So we are not considering firm separate from owner. Right? Owner and firm are same from legal perspective, and hence any losses that you make, any problems that is generated out of proprietorship firms are attributed to the proprietor, which is the owner of the firm. The second more popular form is partnership form, which also is a form. You need more than two or more than two persons coming together and forming a partnership. And since there are two, three people who would do it, maybe more, but it's a flexible. I mean, you can have flexibility in operations like that. Since more people are coming together, there's a greater amount of capital that would be there, right? However, the challenge is that the liability is there, and liability is not only for actions of own. So a partner in a partnership firm will not be only liable for his or her own actions, but also the actions of others, other partners essentially. So that's a kind of big disadvantages of partnership fund because you are responsible for other actions also. So you have to be very careful about choosing partners. That is where the third form comes, which is a limited liability partnership, which has the benefit of a partnership form in terms of flexibility in operations, but it also provides a limited liability. Okay, so obviously you need to register your company, your LLP, with the government. So there is some compliance cost, not very high, But some compliance cost, you have to file certain documents to the government agencies. And some compliance cost is not zero. It's not minimal as compared to what it's definitely more than what a partnership firm or a proprietorship firm would have. But with that compliance cost comes a limited liability. Then comes a particularly well-known private limited company, which is again a limited liability, as the limited word in the private limited company indicate. It has some compliance cost, low compliance cost, but there's some cost there. And since a private limited, you cannot raise capital from public. Okay, so still, people who are working together, promoters of the company, are the ones who will be raising capital. So directors of the company or the stakeholders of this company are the ones from you can raise capital. There's a limit of how many people could be the shareholders and so on. So but it's a limited liability. So somebody moving from say a proprietorship firm to say partnership firm and wants to move ahead, one way to go is to go for LLP model, where there is a limited liability and the flexible operation. Or one go to a private limited company. The private limited company, I think the benefit that you get is that so you cannot actually raise capital from public, but you can go public. And what do you mean by go public? Is you can actually have an initial public offering and become public limited company. There is a limitation. There are certain rules and regulations. You need to have minimum 3 years of existence as a private limited company to become a public limited company. But and obviously there are certain other regulations. As a matter of fact, a public limited company will have a lot of regulations to follow as compared to private limited company. But that regulations are there essentially for public limited company to have the ability to raise capital from public. So you have limited liability, you have ability to raise capital from public, but you have high compliance cost because you are subjected to the strict regulations. Now, once we now discuss this, understand this, now comes the question is that what are the criteria for selection? How an entrepreneur or a promoter should decide which firm to choose? The first is the nature of business. If your nature of business is a restaurant, then a proprietorship firm or a private a partnership firm would be good enough. But if you're looking at expanding it and making a chain of restaurants, a chain of hotel chain like Domino's Pizza, those kind of a branded restaurants, chain of restaurants, then obviously you may need a little bigger. Maybe you will start with a private limited company and actually become a public limited company. So that's one possibility, one criteria for selection. The second is scale of operations. Again, if scale of operation is low, suppose you're a consulting company, management consulting company, you could be a partnership firm or you could go for LLP because LLP gives a limited liability. But you don't need to really become a public limited company because the scale of operations, if it's not going to be high, then you can be happy working as a LLP or partnership firm. The third is the degree of control desired by promoters. So if the promoters wants to have a full control, then they should stop at being a private limited company. So the moment you become a public limited company and sell shares in market, anyone can buy, and you could actually have a challenge. If the expression is that a promoter will have they will be single largest stakeholder, and the rest of the shares will be bought by lot of other people, but not a single block of people. So promoters kind of have a control, but then you could dilute the control as you sell more and raise funds from public. The capital requirements, if you have higher capital requirements, then definitely you need to go for becoming in a company. Risk appetite, if you have high risk appetite, then again you may want to grow, and if you really want to grow, then you definitely need to be a public company. And a comparative tax liability. If you're a public limited company, you pay more taxes. If you're a proprietorship firm, you're paying less taxes. So depending on the rules keeps on changing, but depending on the rules, typically uh, proprietorship firms or private partnership firms will be able to pay less tax as compared to the public limited company. So these are the different firms, and this is what the criteria for selection for this firm. Hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you very much.